We have an extremely sick and perverted system of injustice that some people call a system of justice in this country that continues to show its just complete lack of morality, like complete lack of moral strength, and it continues to show how protectionist it can be when it comes to protecting agents of state and racial violence, who in previous videos I call ASRVs. And I'm going to read this story. I pulled it from rawstory.com. I go there a lot. They have a lot of good articles on that website. And the title of this article is "New York Cop Avoids Prison Despite Admitting He Raped Teen While Working as School Security Guard." And this story is going to piss you off, as it should, because this should not happen anywhere. But this is the level of perversion that exists in this country right now when it comes to protecting certain people or certain groups of people. So a New York judge expressed horror at letters written in support of a retired police officer who admitted to repeatedly raping a teenage girl, but he managed to avoid prison anyway. Adam Massetti pleaded guilty to third-degree rape. He pleaded guilty. That's an important point in this story. So, whether or not he raped a 16-year-old girl is not even up for debate. So he pleaded guilty to third-degree rape of a 16-year-old, but the letters showed his friends and family still believed he was innocent and had already suffered enough. One letter said Massetti's family had been, quote, unjustly disgraced, and a church deacon insisted, quote, the proof can often be inconclusive, end quote. And the sentencing judge blasted the former Buckport police officer. Quote, this tone permeates these letters, said Judge Sarah Sheldon. These people that love you so much don't believe you did it. The vast majority don't believe you did it. And I think it's because you told them you didn't, end quote. A friend complained that the 46-year-old Massetti, who met the girl when he was working as a school security officer, had his life and career, quote, ruined by accusations and innuendo, end quote, because he had agreed to work with students. Now let me end it right there. Well, I'm going to end this part of the article before I continue. This shows you the very pathological disconnection from reality that exists in this country among people in the dominant society. Okay, that you could have a man admit to a crime, a very heinous crime. Okay, and you still get people who are ready to come out and defend him. Family is almost understandable. Not totally, because again, like, you have to know when to shut up. So if you have even someone in your family who is admitted to doing something very heinous and doing it repeated times, even if you do kind of, being that he's family, want to feel sorry for him, that's not something you should actually try to use in the court of law as a way of getting that person off. Okay, this man deserves to be in prison. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But any non-relative who would come out and just defend and apologize for a rapist, a child rapist, okay, that makes you an equally disgusting individual in my eyes. Like, I wouldn't be caping for any of my friends if they got caught doing something like this. And I imagine that most people probably wouldn't. The protectionism for state violence, and this is a form of state violence, the protectionism for it in this country is one of the most dangerous aspects of America right now domestically. Okay, you're hard pressed to find an issue that is so threatening to the lives of so many people, and that not only is it threatening, but it's protected. You know, people in this country don't take it as seriously, depending on who the victim is, and depending on what the crime is. And it's extremely troubling, but it shows people that you need to be prepared, because this country really isn't getting better. It's getting worse in many ways. But let me continue and read the rest of this article. The officer took in the girl for a time after meeting her at the school, and their relationship then turned sexual. Masidi had pleaded guilty on May 22nd before another judge who has since retired, and the former officer agreed to register as a sex offender and face a sentence no greater than 16 months of incarceration and 10 years of probation, the newspaper reported. So this was already something that Masidi had agreed to. Like, he came to terms with this this judge who had retired, or who is now retired. And so now they're trying to change things up now after the fact. And then the new judge said, quote, "I'm not comfortable with this," said Sheldon, who faulted the former officer and his supporters for calling the victim's statements into question. So the new judge, the current judge, said that she's not comfortable with what's going on because the officer and his supporters are basically victim blaming. They're basically trying to say that she, again, this is something that he's admitted to doing. Again, that is not up for debate. It is undeniable. He raped a child. Okay? And instead of owning that and being prepared to face the consequences of that, they're trying to turn that on the victim. They're trying to turn it on the child and say that the child is responsible for their own victimization, which is extremely disgusting. Like, that's some evil shit. It's extremely evil. I don't really have any other way to describe that. Continuing, quote, "Please be comfortable. I did it." Again, he's admitting, this is Masidi again. So he told the judge, like, you don't have to be uncomfortable with this. I did it. I'm admitting to doing it. And then he said, "There's no sense in dragging my family and this young lady through this." Sheldon nearly sent the case back to quote unquote square one after Masidi's attorney suggested prosecutors had coerced the retired officer's guilty plea by threatening his family. But the defense attorney apologized and claimed he misspoke. Masidi had been charged with 10 counts of third-degree rape, 20 counts of criminal sexual misconduct, and 30 counts of 20 counts of criminal sexual conduct, and 30 counts of sexual misconduct. The judge sentenced Masidi to 10 years of probation, and he must register as a sex offender. He faced a maximum of 4 years in prison if convicted on all counts. Tell me that state violence, perpetrators of state and racial violence in this country aren't being protected. This is extremely bad. This just evil character, this degenerate, that he would be protected by essentially the law and allowed to avoid, because like, it's a known fact that rapists don't really fare too well in prison, especially child rapists. Okay, so not only a lot of times they protect these these race soldiers, they get protected a lot of times, and these state violence perpetuators get protected a lot of times to protect them from going to prison, so they won't be in general population. Okay, with a bunch of people who probably are gonna absolutely hate and despise their guts. And then so this guy is even worse than your typical person because he raped a child, and it's tragic. It's really tragic. I feel a lot of remorse for the victim and the victim's family because they deserve better than this, and it shows you just how lacking in justice the criminal justice system actually is. It's a system based on convenience. It's a system riddled with favoritism. It's a system riddled with protectionist ideologies for certain groups of people. And it's a system that preys on other groups of people because that's what it's always done. And we can't be super naive in thinking that just because a handful of bills were passed in the 1960s, that somehow revolutionized these systems of racism and white supremacy that have always existed in this country. Because there's a tremendous amount of circumstantial evidence that just shows you that is not the case. That is the furthest thing from the truth. This is still very fundamentally a white supremacist country. And in electing a black president did not change that. If anything, it's caused the white supremacists within this system to double down. So, if you like this video, make sure you click the like button and the subscribe button. Share it as well on social media. And go to my blog, blackintellectual.com. But also go to my new website, kendakebarker.com. That is my store. I have a lot of cool products there, some shirts, some hats, and I'm adding things constantly as I find things that I think people would want to buy. I want Ken Dake and Barker to be a store where you can buy not just very edgy and sometimes controversial and outspoken t-shirts, but I also want it to be a store where you can buy regular stuff that you would probably get at a Walmart. And you might be able to get it for cheaper at a Walmart, but if you buy it, because I want to put socks on there and I want to put undergarments on there, just like regular stuff that people buy periodically, because socks and underwear and tank tops and things like that stuff deteriorates over time. So it's something that people constantly need to buy more of. So instead of going somewhere like Walmart, you can go there and pick it up in 10 minutes, depending on, there's a Walmart around every corner. But if you go somewhere like Ken Dake and Barker, you might have to wait a few days for it and pay a few extra dollars, but it's going into helping a black business, which is my business. So check out kendakeandbarker.com. If you just type in Ken Dake Barker, you'll find it. It'll be there. And just support us. And be on the lookout for my next video. Thanks.